In the quiet rural town of Mbala, where modern life brushed shoulders with old spirits that refused to die, lived a boy named Kato. He was 18, old enough to understand the world, but still young enough to believe it would one day be kind to him again. After his mother died, the house changed. Not immediately, not loudly, but the kind of change that enters like a whisper through a cracked window. Quiet, soft, poisonous. His father, Baba Musa, remarried within a year. And the townspeople said the same thing. Musa rushed too fast. Something is not right with that woman. She came from nowhere, like a shadow looking for a body. Her name was Naledi. Beautiful. Calm. A beauty that didn't blink often. A calm that didn't breathe like other people. When she walked, it was as if her feet barely touched the ground. When she spoke, her voice slipped into the room like cold water under a locked door. She wasn't cruel at first, no. That was the strange part. She was perfect. Too perfect. She woke before dawn to grind maize. She cooked without tasting the food. She cleaned every surface until the house smelled like nothing. Not soap, not wood, not people. Nothing. As if she was erasing every sign that someone lived there before her. But the real horror began on the first night Kato woke up screaming. Not because of a nightmare, but because the house was whispering. He heard soft footsteps in the corridor, slow, dragging. Kato sat upright, his breath sharp, his chest tight. The footsteps outside his door were soft, impossibly soft, like bare feet sliding across dust rather than stepping on it. Low, measured, almost playful. He held his breath. The footsteps stopped. The silence afterward felt heavier than the sound. Kato slowly slid off his bed, every nerve in his body prickling. He pressed his ear against the door. First nothing. Tap tap tap. 3 knocks. Low. Deliberate. Knuckles dragging against the wood, as if whoever stood outside wasn't knocking to be let in, but knocking just to know he was awake. Kato! A voice whispered. But it wasn't human. It was too airy, like someone exhaling words rather than speaking them. A whisper floating on breath instead of formed by a tongue. Kawato! His body froze. He recognized the voice. It was Naledi's. But she had never sounded like this. Her usual voice was calm, melodic, steady. This voice was wrong. Hollow. Deeper. Like something wearing her voice like a mask. Kato, it whispered again. Come, open. His heart hammered so hard his ribs ached. He stepped slowly back from the door. Open for me, my son. He shook his head violently. Mo. He didn't answer. He didn't move. And then the voice changed, suddenly, from soft to sharp, snapping like a bone under pressure. Open! The word struck the door so forcefully that the wood vibrated. Kato stumbled back. Silence. Then the footsteps moved again, slowly, sliding away down the corridor like a shadow melting back into the dark. He stayed awake until dawn. And when the sun finally rose, he crept out into the corridor. The floor was clean. Too clean. Naledi's doing, no doubt. But there were smudges on the wall near his door. Long, dark streaks, as if fingertips coated in soot had dragged themselves downward. Kato swallowed hard. That morning, Naledi was already in the kitchen, back turned, stirring porridge in a pot. She wore the same expression she always wore. Gentle, silent, unreadable. Kato, she said without turning around. You didn't sleep. His heart jolted. He hadn't made a sound. He hadn't left his room. Kato froze in the doorway. How do you know I didn't sleep? His voice betrayed him, it trembled. Naledi didn't turn around. She stirred the porridge in slow, perfect circles. You walk heavy when you rest, she said softly. And light when you don't. He knew it was a lie. He hadn't walked at all. His skin prickled deeply. crawling as if 1,000 tiny insects were waking under it. She finally turned. Her face held that same soft, polite smile she always wore. But her eyes didn't match the smile. Her eyes carried something hungry behind them. Something watching him more than looking at him. "You should eat," she said. "You'll need strength today." "For what?" he asked. She shrugged, almost amused. "For living." Strange answer. Chilling one. Baba Musa entered then, yawning, rubbing his neck. "Good morning, my family," he said cheerfully. Naledi's smile widened, too wide. Her eyes softened, her head tilted, and she leaned to kiss him on the cheek. But the moment Musa turned away, her smile dropped. Her face became blank again. "Me." Cato swallowed hard. They sat to eat breakfast together, though Cato barely touched his plate. Naledi didn't taste hers at all, she never did. "That woman eats nothing," the neighbors whispered. "She must be sick. She must be strange. She must be hiding something." But Baba Musa only ever smiled. "She is disciplined," he would say. "A woman of control." Cato knew it was more than discipline. Naledi never ate. He had never seen her chew. Never smelled food on her breath. Never heard her stomach growl. Humans eat. Naledi performed eating. And it was a performance only when Musa was looking. That night, Cato stayed awake intentionally. He wanted to know. He needed to know. He lay still on his bed, pretending to sleep. Hours passed. The house turned dark and heavy. The walls seemed to throb with the breath of something alive. Soft footsteps. The same as the night before. Sliding. Dragging. The corridor creaked with a weight too gentle to be human. Cato's breath stopped. The footsteps paused outside his door again. He clenched his teeth. "Don't move. Don't breathe. Don't let her know." But this time, she didn't knock. She whispered, "Cato, you are awake." His heart slammed painfully against his ribs. "Cato, let me in." He kept still. "Cato, listen carefully." Her voice wasn't whispering this time. It was sniffing. Like something outside his door was inhaling deeply. Smelling him. Sniff, sniff, blow, blow, wet. "Fear," she breathed. "You smell like fear tonight." Cato nearly choked on the terror rising inside him. A finger slipped under the door. A long, thin finger. Too thin. Jointed in the wrong places. It scraped slowly across the floorboards, searching, seeking, tasting the wood. Cato couldn't scream. He couldn't move. Not until the finger retreated. The footsteps drifted back down the hallway. Silence returned. And just when Cato thought he might survive the night, Naledi's voice echoed faintly from the kitchen. "Cato, you should sleep now. Tomorrow will be worse." That was the moment he realized. Naledi didn't sleep. She didn't eat. She didn't blink long enough to be human. And she didn't walk like someone with bones in her feet. She stalked. She glided. She hunted. And whatever she wanted, whatever she was waiting for, it had something to do with him. I used to think monsters only lived in old stories. Hidden in forests, lurking under beds, creeping through nightmares. But the real monster walked freely in my house. Her name was Marina, my stepmother. She arrived 2 weeks after my father remarried. A tall, elegant woman with eyes too still, too sharp, as if she were always calculating something nobody else could see. She smiled at everyone in the neighborhood, complimented their children, offered homemade pastries that tasted strangely metallic. But when the door closed behind her, when it was just the two of us, her smile died, and something else awakened. First it was small things, things I tried to ignore, like the way she lingered outside my bedroom at night, her shadow stretching unnaturally long beneath the door, or how she whispered my name in a tone that didn't sound human, slow, stretched, terrified me most was her obsession with my father's old study. The room had belonged to my mother. It was the one part of the house Marina wasn't allowed into. My father loved Marina, but he still respected my mother's memory. He kept the door locked, always. Yet somehow, at random hours of the night, I heard the doorknob turning. Soft clicks, slow taps, like someone testing the lock. And Marina's shadow crouched beneath the doorframe. One night I confronted her. "Why are you trying to get into Mom's study?" I asked. She didn't blink, didn't breathe. Then she leaned forward, her voice sliding out like cold smoke. "Because there are things in that room that belong to me. And things in you that belong to her. But were meant for me." I didn't understand what she meant. Not then. But everything changed the night I finally saw what she truly was. It was after midnight. The house was silent. My father was away on a business trip. I heard footsteps, Marina's, moving toward the study door again. But this time there was no cautious tapping. There was scratching, deep hungry scratches, as if her nails were carving symbols into the wood. I crept out of my room, heart pounding so loudly I wondered if she could hear it. Then I saw her, not standing upright like a normal person. She was bent backward, completely, her hands flat on the floor behind her, her spine arched like a stretched bow, her hair hanging upside down. And her face. God. Her face was turned toward me even though her body faced the opposite direction. Her eyes were pitch black. No whites, no pupils, just darkness. She smiled. An upside-down smile that split wider than before. "Your mother tried to keep me out," she whispered. "But you will let me in." Her hand, backward and spider-like, reached toward me. Ran. I locked myself in my room. But she followed, the sound of her inverted body crawling echoing down the hall. Blick, blick, blick. The lights flickered. And then, her voice right outside my door. "It's time you learned what I really am." I pressed my back against the door, shaking, waiting for Marina to force her way in. But the handle didn't turn. Instead, the scratching stopped. Silence. That terrified me even more. I waited 1 minute, 5 minutes. 10. Still nothing. Finally, I gathered the courage to look through the tiny crack under the door. Nothing. Just darkness. But when I slowly opened the door, only a few inches, I saw something lying on the hallway floor. Photograph. Face down. I picked it up with trembling fingers. It was a picture of my mother, smiling, holding me as a baby. But her face had been violently scratched out. Not with a pen. Not with claws. But with teeth marks, as if someone had bitten her face off the photo. My stomach twisted. Then I noticed something even worse written on the back of the picture. In Marina's tiny, perfect handwriting. "You should have died instead." I dropped the photo and backed away. The house felt colder, heavier, like something else was awake now. I ran to my father's room. Maybe I could call him, tell him to come home. But when I opened his closet to search for the emergency phone, more photos, dozens of them. Pictures of me sleeping. Pictures taken from inches away. Pictures where I wasn't even aware someone was in my room. In every photo, behind me. In the background. Reflected in the mirror or the window. Marina was standing there, watching, smiling, hunched, bent, plump. Then a soft voice behind me. "You shouldn't be in here." I spun around. Marina was standing in the doorway, but upright this time, acting normal, wearing her usual perfect smile. "WH, why are you doing this?" I whispered. She stepped closer. Her eyes were soft. "Oh, soft. Because I am preparing you," she said quietly. "For what's coming." "What's coming?" asked, voice breaking. She tilted her head. "That depends," she whispered, "on whether you help me, or whether you force me to show you what your mother really locked away." I tried to run past her, but she grabbed my wrist, cold, ice cold, and leaned close enough that I felt her breath against my ear. It wasn't human breath. It was cold, foul, heavy. Your mother stole something from me. Something she hid in that study. Her grip tightened painfully. And she hid something inside you too. My heart stopped. What do you mean, inside me? She smiled. Not kindly, not cruelly, but hungrily. That's why I married your father, she whispered. Not for him. Not for this house. But for you. Mm. She reached out with her free hand and dug her nails into the side of my neck. Not cutting, searching, probing, as if she expected to find something under my skin. I screamed and shoved her away. She hit the wall but didn't fall. She didn't even blink. Just straightened her spine with a sickening crack, 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 and smiled wider. You're finally waking up, she said softly. Good. Very good. Ran. I didn't know where to go. So I rushed toward the only place she seemed desperate to enter. My mother's locked study. Maybe there were answers there. Maybe there was something that could help me. But as I reached the door, I froze. The lock was broken, snapped open from the inside. And the door was slightly ajar, as though my mother had just stepped out a moment ago. Inside, the light flickered, and I heard a whisper, not Marina's, calling my name. I pushed the door open slowly. The air in my mother's study was thick with dust, cold enough to sting my skin, like the room had been frozen in time since the day she died. Papers were scattered everywhere. Old journals, ripped pages, medical charts, symbols drawn in circles I didn't understand. But the worst thing, the thing that made my breath catch, was the chair in the middle of the room. My mother's chair. And someone was sitting in it. Not Marina. Not anyone living. It was a shape. Shadow. A silhouette of a woman, head down, hair hanging loose. Not moving. Not breathing. But whispering my name. Isaac. My voice cracked. Mom. The shadow lifted its head slowly. Slow, like something puppet by invisible strings. But the face wasn't visible. Just darkness shaped like a face. Yet the voice, it was her voice. You need to remember what she is, it whispered, before she takes what's inside you. I stepped closer even though my whole body screamed not to. What did she do to me? I whispered. The shadow woman raised an arm and pointed to my mother's desk. Something small lay there, a wooden box with carvings burned into its surface, symbols that glowed faintly like dying embers. That box, the voice said. She wanted it. She still does. Because inside it is the truth you've forgotten. Slowly, trembling, I reached for the box. My fingers brushed the lid. Blim. The door behind me slammed shut so violently the entire room shook. Marina. She stood there, smiling. But her eyes were black, completely black, like the pupils had swallowed everything. Oh, honey, she sighed. You shouldn't be talking to the dead. Marina stepped into the room. Her silhouette stretched unnaturally long across the floor, like her shadow was trying to reach me before she did. The door sealed itself behind her with a soft hiss, as if the house was holding its breath. The shadow woman in the chair began to tremble, her form flickering like candle smoke. Marina's smile widened. Still clinging to her, she said sweetly. Even after all this time. She never did know how to let go. I staggered backward. Stay away from her. Marina tilted her head, amused. From that, she said, pointing lazily to the shadow. Isaac. Sweetheart, that isn't your mother. The shadow jerked violently, as if those words tore through it. A low, distorted moan filled the room. She's lying, the shadow rasped. Don't listen. But Marina raised a hand, and the shadow collapsed inward as though crushed by invisible pressure. Enough. The room vibrated. Dust fell from the ceiling. Books flew open on their own. The lights flickered wildly. Then Marina looked at me, really looked at me, with an expression that made my skin crawl. It wasn't anger. It wasn't cruelty. It was hunger. You were supposed to forget, she whispered. That was the whole point. She moved closer, each step echoing like a heartbeat. You see, Isaac, your mother didn't die. My chest tightened. She tried to keep you from me, Marina continued. From what you are. I stumbled back toward the desk, gripping the box. What I am. Marina's voice softened, almost loving. You're the last piece I've been waiting for. Her shadow rose behind her like a storm, arms stretching, fingers twisting. I married your father so I could reach you. And I killed your mother because she refused to give you up. My blood ran cold. The box in my hands burned like fire, symbols glowing bright red. The shadow woman screamed, one last desperate, shattering cry, and then burst into a swirl of ash that dissolved into the air. No, no. I cried out, but Marina only laughed. That wasn't her, Isaac. It was just the part of her soul I didn't manage to consume. She licked her lips. Until now. You killed her, I whispered. I devoured her, she corrected. And now it's your turn. She lunged at me. Her skin peeled back like cracked paint as rows of needle-like teeth split across her cheeks. Her eyes rolled into white voids. Her fingers elongated into jagged, bone-like claws. I did the only thing my instincts screamed. Open the box. The moment the lid lifted, a blast of cold wind exploded out of the box. So cold it burned. Papers scattered. The windows rattled. Marina froze mid-lunge, her distorted face twisting in sudden fear. No, she hissed. Isaac, stop. But it was already happening. Light, golden, violent, blinding, shot out of the box in a pillar that hit the ceiling and shook the entire house. The symbols on the wood flared brighter than fire. Marina staggered backward, shielding her melting face. You don't know what you're doing, she shrieked. But I did. Somewhere deep inside me, the truth was waking up. A memory snapped open like a wound. My mother crying, holding this very box close to her heart, whispering to me, if she ever finds you, open this. It will bring me back to you. The light wrapped around me, warm, familiar, like arms I had missed for years. Marina roared. You little fool. Her shadow shot forward like black fire, slamming into me, pushing me against the wall. The light flickered but didn't die. Oh, Isaac, Marina growled, her voice layered with demonic echoes. You think a memory will save you. You think a box will stop me. Her claws reached for my throat. And after I take you, she whispered, I'll hollow out your father too. Rage boiled inside me. Hotter than fear, stronger than the light. You won't touch him, I spat. Marina laughed. I already have. My chest tightened with dread. Then the desk behind her shook violently. Papers lifted into the air. A dark wind circled the room like a tornado. Marina paused, confused. What is? A voice filled the room. Firm. Familiar. Isaac, step aside. It was her. My mother's voice, real this time. Not a shadow. Not an echo. Marina spun around. The light from the box condensed into a shape. A figure. Slowly becoming solid. A woman stepped forward, glowing with a soft golden aura. Her eyes were warm brown. Her smile gentle. Her presence overwhelming. Mom. She looked at me with love so powerful it hurt. I never left you, she said backslash. My throat closed, and tears I didn't know I'd been holding finally broke free. She was real. Not a shadow. Not a memory. My mother. But Marina reacted first. No, she whispered, stepping back like a cornered animal. You're gone. I devoured you. I took everything. My mother tilted her head, almost pitying. You took my pain, she said softly. My fear. My memories. Her glow brightened. But you didn't take my love. And that was your mistake. Marina screamed, a raw animal sound. You don't belong here. She lunged, claws extended. But the moment her shadow touched my mother's light, it sizzled like acid. Marina recoiled, hissing, clutching her burned hand. You can hurt me all you want, my mother said calmly. But you will never touch him again. Marina backed toward the far wall, shaking now. Not in rage but terror. You can't stop what's inside him, she shrieked. He's mine by blood, by right. I chose him. I prepared him. You prepared him to destroy you, my mother said. Before Marina could process the words, she turned to me. Isaac. You need to finish this. My heart pounded. Finish what? You are not what she wanted to make you, my mother whispered. You are the one thing she feared, a bridge between light and shadow. You can return what she stole. She reached out, placing her hand over my chest. Warmth spread through me, like a fire awakening in my veins. My mother smiled. The storm outside had quieted, but inside the house, the silence was heavier than thunder. Isaac stood frozen in the center of the corridor. His mother's voice, or the thing wearing her skin, still echoed in every corner of the house. Marina clung to the wall, shaking, unable to look at him. The door to the study hung open behind them, the box still on the table, glowing faintly like a dying ember. For the first time since this nightmare began, Isaac realized something horrifying. He was alive. Marina was alive. But the presence in the house had not left. It had simply stepped aside, waiting. Isaac slowly guided Marina down the hallway. The air was cold in a way cold never should be, like the walls themselves were exhaling frost. The framed family photos that once showed smiling faces now seemed wrong. In one of them, his mother's head was slightly turned, even though it had been straight earlier. Marina whispered, Isaac, she's not gone. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Every room seemed to look back at them. Every corner held breath. Every shadow reached a little closer than before. As they entered the living room, the overhead bulb flickered violently, blowing out with a pop. Darkness swallowed them again. Only the kitchen light was still on, its warm yellow glow flickering like a candle struggling to survive. Marina pulled Isaac's arm, voice cracking. Please. Let's just run. He nodded. But when they reached the front door, it was already open, swinging slowly, inviting them out. Too inviting. Too easy. And on the doorstep, in the rain, stood his mother. She wasn't breathing, not moving, just standing. Her clothes were soaked, sticking to her skin. Her hair dripped dirty water onto the floor. Her face was turned toward him, but her eyes didn't blink, didn't focus, didn't follow. Like a puppet waiting for a hand to enter. Isaac stumbled back. Mom! Marina whispered through her teeth. Isaac, don't go near her. But he couldn't stop himself. Something in him still wanted to believe she was alive, that this nightmare had a logical explanation. He reached one step toward her. And her head snapped sideways with a sharp crack. Her head snapped toward Isaac with a crack like breaking bones. But her body didn't move. Only her face. Slowly twisting. Until her mouth stretched into an unnatural grin. My son. Her voice was wet, gurgling, echoing as if coming from deep inside a well. You opened the box. You invited me back. Isaac dragged Marina behind him. No, he whispered. You're not her. His mother's head tilted even further, the skin on her neck tearing like damp cloth. She was weak. But you are perfect. And you brought me home. The rain behind her intensified. Water pooled around her feet, but she didn't sink into it. Didn't disturb it. Didn't cast a shadow. Because she was no longer something that belonged in the world of the living. Isaac! Marina cried softly. We have to go. Now. But his mother, the thing wearing her, took one step into the house. And every window slammed shut. Every door locked itself. The lights burst one by one. They were trapped with her. Isaac knew they couldn't fight her. Couldn't outrun her. Couldn't hide from something that controlled the house itself. But then he remembered something. Box. The cursed wooden box sitting in his father's study. The one his mother had opened the night everything changed. If opening it invited the spirit in. Maybe closing it again, Isaac whispered, can force her out. He grabbed Marina's hand and ran. His mother's voice followed them down the hall. Isaac, don't close what you opened for me. The walls shook. Frames fell. The floorboards bulged as if something crawled beneath them. They reached the study. The box sat where they left it. They reached the study. The box sat where they left it. But it was no longer closed. Pulsed. Like a heart. Like something alive inside was breathing. Marina recoiled. Isaac. It's calling to her. No, Isaac whispered. It's feeding her. Behind them, footsteps dragged slowly down the corridor. Wet. Heavy. Slapping against the wood like rotten flesh. His mother was coming. Isaac grabbed the lid of the box. It was burning hot. His skin sizzled. The house groaned. Lights exploded. Books flew off shelves. His mother screamed. A sound not meant for human ears. Isaac, don't you close that box. You opened the door for me. Let me wear you too. Her shadow stretched into the room first, moving faster than her body. Long fingers reaching across the floor. Marina pulled Isaac, desperate. Close it, Isaac. Now. He gritted his teeth, pushed with all his strength. But the lid refused to shut. Something inside was fighting him. His mother lunged. Her hands, ice-cold and rigid, clamped around his throat, lifting him off the ground like he weighed nothing. Her face was inches from his. Her pupils were gone. Her mouth stretched too wide. Let me in, son. You will feel no pain. Only hunger. Isaac clawed at her arm. But it wasn't her flesh. Felt like stone. Like old wood. Like the inside of a coffin. He was fading. Marina screamed his name. And then Isaac made the one decision that changed everything. He used his last breath. And slammed the lid shut with his weight. The room exploded with a blinding flash. His mother shrieked. A sound like 1,000 voices burning at once. Her body collapsed to the floor, twitching. Her skin turned dark, cracking like old bark. Smoke poured from her mouth, her eyes, her chest. All pulling, swirling, twisting. Back into the box. Her last words came in a cracked whisper. You were supposed to save me. Not bury me again. Then silence. Her body stopped moving. The air stilled. The shadows retreated. The house took one final breath. And exhaled. Isaac collapsed to his knees, sobbing. Not because the monster was gone, but because he realized the truth. His real mother had died long ago. This thing had been wearing her skin for years. And he had never seen it. They buried what remained of her behind the house. Isaac didn't speak while they dug. Marina held him, dirty, shaking, barely holding himself together. When the last heap of soil fell over the grave, he whispered, Mom, I'm sorry I didn't notice. I'm sorry you were gone alone. I'm sorry I only knew you when you were a monster. The wind blew softly through the trees, almost like a sigh. The box, now cold, lay wrapped in cloth. Isaac didn't destroy it. He didn't dare. He buried it beside her grave instead. Not to honor her. To contain her. Keep the door shut. Forever. As they walked away, Isaac looked back one last time. The earth over her grave moved, just once, like something shifting underneath. He squeezed his eyes shut. He didn't go back. He never returned to that house again. But sometimes when he closes his eyes at night, he still hears the faintest whisper. Isaac, you look just like him. Let me wear you. Just once. If this terrifying tale chilled your bones, don't forget to hit like. It helps more than you know. Share this story with someone who loves African horror and dark folklore. And if you want more nightmares like this, subscribe to the channel. Because every week, a new story walks out of the dark. And some of them are still hungry.